So while I was watching this YouTube video from the Sons of Thunder Israelites entitled Bar for Bar Marriage and Intimacy, an Adult Discussion. Now, it talked about the problems in marriages and the conversations that need to be addressed in a marriage. Now, what do I mean? What am I trying to say? Well, it just goes to show that hard conversations can sprung up, or excuse me, conversations can make a relationship experience challenges or frustration that may come out differently. It will come out on a different time. That's why sometimes we wonder why a certain person gets annoyed easily, stuff like that. And that's something that we're going to talk about in this video, right? Like, um, not just basically in marriage, but in life in general, you see. And this is one of the things that I find, or everyone experience finds it hard to converse, especially for us introverts. Especially nowadays, we have what you call the internet. We're focused more on the internet, that our mouths are not speaking. You can go for a lot of hours playing a game without your mouth speaking or talking or having a conversation. That's why when the hard conversation comes, it gets piled up. It gets stored up, and certain problems are then not met or not resolved, right? That's why it's important to have the power of the tongue, right? That we may be able to converse, to solve, to clarify certain things. And I believe it starts first with having only fear with God and not of the world. See, we don't want to have, well, there were many times that you admit something to someone, or you confess your problems, your securities to them, and then they end up not listening, or not, what do you call this, they take it the wrong way, right? So I guess my advice there is to really open up to someone you are really comfortable with, and then slowly open up to someone after that, right? And you know and that also comes with prayer, right? And there's many factors to it, of course, but mainly it's because we fear getting misjudged, and honestly it hurts, right? That's the same thing. We just really don't want to get hurt, but this is life, this is reality. We have to work out our tongue, right? Because it problems will come in many, not many, but in all aspects of life. Whether you are just playing a game, whether you are playing sports, whether you are trying to build a business, doing your hobbies, making music, buying something, all of it. So you need that tongue in order to handle these conversations, right? And we're going to add some scriptures to it, right? We need the guidance of the scripture. So this is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 28, verse 11. A hasty contention kindleth a fire, and unhasty fighting sheddeth blood. What is a contention? A contention is heated disagreement, right? You will encounter brothers that will just straightforwardly and ignorantly disagree with you, or not disagree but dismiss you, right? And that's something that you have to be prepared for, right? One of the things that we can prepare for is this. Let's continue. In unhasty fighting shedded blood. Verse 12. If thou blow the spark, it shall burn. If thou spit upon it, it shall be quenched, right? Both of these come out of thy mouth. You can either put out the fire, or you can spark, or you can blow the spark, right, and make it burn. We prefer the latter. This one, it shall be quenched. That's, we must put out the fire, de-escalate, right? We need to work around that, right? Let's go to Proverbs chapter 15 verse 1. A soft answer turneth away your wrath, but grievous words stir up anger, right? Use words that are wholesome, that are lifting, right? That in order for the brother to calm down, right? I'm talking about you already being inside of that hard conversations, right? You are already being dealt with a lot of disagreement. The hardest is, of course, dismissal, right? They just don't understand what you're trying to explain, and they dismiss it, or they just ignore it, right? And those are the things that are challenging, right? But we must, of course, explain. That's why it's a blessing to have conflict resolution, because then you are able to solve problems. Because if your problems are unsolved, they're going to get piled up. Problems that are piled up will make it hard for you to handle, because that's where hatred will come, right? You will feel frustrated, and then afterwards you might experience, or you might hate your brother in your heart, right? And we don't want that. That's why we must have that tongue, and work out that tongue every day, right? By reasoning, by meditating, right? Every day, continuously, alongside with the scriptures, right? This is our sword. You can't fight a war without you practicing your sword. You can carry it, but if you don't know how to wield it, or you don't know how to use it, or when to use it, it's going to be wasted, right? You're going to get wasted. You're going to get cut. You only have your shield. You only have your shield. If you only have your shield, right, that shield will eventually break off, right? Yes, the shield is the faith, and that is your belief, right? And faith, when it is tried, it creates more patience, right? But remember, resistance is not bulletproof. It's going to break out. So you need also that tongue, you need also that offense. You need to use that sword sometimes. And it must be done the righteous way, right? Our goal is to de-escalate, discuss, agree, and disagree, right? Think of cutting something and trying to deal with it. It's whatever. For example, you're trying to learn. You cut it into segments. You cut it into small pieces. It's the same thing as when you're trying to deal with a hard conversation, a disagreement, right? You cut it in half, so you can then deal with it with a reasonable effort, so you don't get overwhelmed, right? Because remember, once you get overwhelmed, that's where frustration comes in. And once frustration comes in, that's when the hatred, right, comes in. And we don't want to hate our brothers or sisters in our heart. Therefore, you must deal with that hard conversation. You must face that hard conversation. Okay? So that's our discussion for today, because today is, I believe, it's the new moon. I'm still trying to learn that, and eventually we can understand it, right? So that's our meditation, that's our reasoning for today, right? At the end of the day, all praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem HaMashiach Yahushua. Thank you.